Welcome back, everyone, to the PXP Let's Talk Success podcast. I'm your host, Dre, joined as always by my co-host, Paul.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going today?
Great.
Anything wild or exciting happened to you this week?
This week, there's been a lot of stuff happening. Today, in particular, we had, we're going to talk about rehab here later on, and just so happened that today we had a couple of clients, patients, individuals have some breakthroughs on the rehab. So it's really exciting watching their progress. It's been about a two-week journey for both of them, and it was very exciting for them to watch them see things that they've been told by others that they couldn't do, and then watch them do those sort of things. So it's pretty fun.
Oh, good. I had something exciting happen to me actually the other day, if you want to know.
I do.
So I almost got a dog, and not on purpose. So
this sounds like a great story.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. For the listeners, you might want to skip through this next 5 minutes if you want some information, because this is not going to be valuable.
But it might be entertaining.
Yeah, it will be entertaining. So I go through my normal daily routine, right? And I go to the sauna, and I get out of the sauna, get all my stuff done, and I go home, right? And so I go home and I go check my mail, and my mail is down like the block. I have to walk to it and unget it. And so I'm walking back, and this girl stops me. She says, "Hey, have you seen a corgi running around? You know, the little doggy?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." And she said, "Well, if you have, I paid a dog walker to walk it, and she didn't bring it back." I'm like, "Dang, for real?" Like, I thought this was a safe area, or at least a trustworthy area. And so I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." I was like, "Well, I mean, I'll look around, but I just got home because I haven't been here, but I'll keep an eye out." And so I'm like, "Dang, that sucks," because, I love dogs. Oh, and just by the way, just for the listeners, actually, our dogs were the most loved in our last poll on Instagram. So it was dogs and cats. Cats got like 1 or 2 votes, but dogs was the overwhelming.
They knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, they were the victors for sure. But anyways, I said I'll keep an eye out and we'll see what happens. And I'm like, I'm not gonna find the dog probably, right? Like, I've never found anyone's dog in my life. And so I go upstairs and I get to my apartment and I open the door, and next thing you know, so I keep my door unlocked. I keep my door unlocked, and thankfully nobody knows my address. There's nothing too valuable in there other than my bike. And so I open the door, and next thing you know, there's a little corgi right there inside my apartment. Inside my apartment. And it scared the crap out of me because it ran.
So the dog walker walked him back and put him in
my place. Yeah. Yeah, craziest thing. I've never had this happen ever. And so, like, it scared the crap out of me because it was literally right by the door when I opened it. So there's like, when I get upstairs, I go into the hallway, and there's a door, and it opens to my apartment and my neighbor's apartment. And then I go through my door, and it ran into the hallway. So it was like a bullet as soon as I opened the door. And so my greatest fear is spiders, and I thought I was getting attacked. And so this is the way to, like, for me to have a heart attack, because it shot like a bullet, and those things are so small. I didn't know what it was, and it was too fast for me to see. And so I turned around and I was like, okay, there it is. And so I had to get it back into my apartment because I didn't want it to, like, take it outside and it run around, because I don't have a leash.
Are you sure she didn't, like, put it in there and is trying to meet you?
Well, yep. So hold on, you gotta listen to the rest of the story.
Oh boy.
And so I get the dog back into my apartment, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to go find this lady. So I go out, and she's in the building next to me. So I go out, and I'm like, "Hey, I found your dog." And I'm like, this lady's going to think that I stole her dog, right? And I was like, I'm not the dog walker. She should know that. And so I'm like, well, I just hope she doesn't think I stole it. So she's like, okay. And I was like, well, it's in my apartment because I didn't want to bring it. And so, this whole situation, I'm like, she's going to think I'm going to try to, like, do something bad to her.
That's a great line, Dre.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it worked. So, she came back to my apartment, and I'm like, your dog's in here. And so I'm like, I leave my door unlocked and I opened it and there the dog was. I was like, come here. And so, and she was like, oh, okay. And so she actually had the same apartment number as me, just in the building next to me. So I think that's where the dog walker got messed up, is because she went up there and she leaves her door unlocked for the dog walker, I'm guessing, to put it in. I think that's what happened. So that was my craziness.
We'll have to stay tuned to future episodes to see how this goes. If this is like a connection made.
Well, I hope not, honestly, because I don't want people in and out of my apartment, obviously.
Well,
so, but yeah,
you've already met her now.
Yeah. So I don't need a dog though. Everyone was like, a friend of mine was like, well, you should connect with her so that now you can like have a dog in a sense. And I was like, no, I can't. So that was my excitement this week. It was some crazy stuff.
You can't make that up. That's pretty cool.
I can't. No, it was crazy. I have a picture of it. I'll post it on our media when this goes. It'll be in the video. I have a picture of the dog. So, all right, let's get into. Oh no, we have to do Cricket's joke. I'm sorry if this wasn't enough entertainment for you. Why do bees have sticky hair?
I don't know.
Because they use a honeycomb.
That's not nearly as good as the others.
Yeah, it was a nice little honey joke for you since you've been binging on it lately.
Honey's good.
Yeah, it is good. All right, let's go into today's topic. Listeners, join us back now. We'll give you some valuable information and go from here. So we're going to talk about injury prevention. Paul's whole philosophy, really, on pretty much everything. It's what drew me here and draws a lot of people here.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with rehab, right? Now, to some people, rehab's a bad term. I mean, if you've gotten to the point where you're doing rehab, you don't get to do the fun stuff, right? And so once you've gotten hurt, you get to go see the physician. The physician does the testing, gives you a diagnosis, gives you some medication perhaps, or they send you with a referral to go get rehab. Traditionally, that's done by a physical therapist, but we're going to talk today, but there's a lot of people who provide rehab services. Regardless of where you go to get that rehab, you usually have a negative connotation or perception of rehab because you're like, I can't have fun anymore, this hurts, and you've got all kinds of other things going on. So if you get yourself to that place, it's not fun.
Yeah. I'd
like to look at all these things that we're going to talk about on the rehab side. What would happen if we actually reduced the risk of you getting hurt? And we called it prehab. Maybe we call this preventative stuff, and you build all this stuff up, you build some resiliency, and you don't get hurt in the first place. That, as you talked about earlier, is my philosophy of how to deal with sports performance, sports activities, and strength conditioning, our training, all this kind of stuff. If we can incorporate ways that would improve our performance and reduce our risk of injury, that sounds like a great win-win.
Yeah, so let's go into that then. I want to talk about the prehab. So how do we prevent injuries then? Let's give some ways to do that. For your ways that you like.
There's a lot of different ways out there, and they're not many of these things that we're going to talk about. I didn't create them. They've been around for a really long time. They're pretty basic.
Yeah.
The challenge is that most people don't like doing the basic things.
Right.
They don't like building a structure from the ground up. They like to start with painting the walls, and the foundation hasn't been made yet. So one of the first things to do is you ease into your activities. If you haven't been active for, let's make up a number, for 6 weeks. Let's say you've been fit, something happened, and you've been out of that consistent performance for 6 weeks. You're feeling better now. Don't just jump right back into the activity that you were at 6 weeks ago, because your body's not ready for it. Your brain is. You're excited for it, and your body feels rested, but that body part that kept you out isn't ready for it. So you got to ease back into those things. If you haven't been doing activity for a period of time, whatever that period was, maybe you want to start an activity, you haven't been active for a period of time, your ramp up time needs to be gradual. It needs to be slow, and you need to start getting some consistency so your body can build that resiliency up. That would be number one. Ramp up intensity, ramp up duration, ease into things.
Yeah, and so can you say what happens when people have gone too fast? Can you give some like examples of people, running, getting back into it too fast? I mean, I've done
I've
it,
got several examples just
so
from this week, right?
right.
Fortunately, your body's very impressive.
Hmm.
It's very resilient in many ways. That many people, when they do make these mistakes, the first week of things, they're like, "Oh, see, Paul, I'm fine."
Right.
The second week, they start to get a little tired. See, Paul, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt yet. That third, fourth, fifth week is where the injuries start happening. The overload really takes effect, and then you start getting the aches and pains. But one of the examples from this week is a person who hasn't been running,
Hmm.
um, would like to run, has been building up some strength, comes with a history of some anterior knee pain, some patella tendonitis stuff. Pain in his kneecaps and his patella tendons got to zero. He's done that for a couple of weeks, and he got excited. He wanted to go on his first run. First run was how long?
15.
5K, 3 miles.
Oh, okay.
He went from 0 to 3 miles.
Mm.
Now, the next day he comes in and he's all proud about that. I ran 3 miles yesterday.
Hmm.
I looked at him with like a deer in the headlight look, like, you did what? And I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling fine.
Hmm.
And he did. He did. The second day after that run, I'm talking to him. He's like, oh my goodness, my legs are so sore. I'm so tender. Well, just because he ramped it up too
Right.
quick on those things. Many times, if you do a walk, jog, or a lot of people look at these miles and they dive right into a 5K,
Hmm.
3 miles. There are some people who are very fit that, and I'll say this tongue in cheek, won't even put their shoes on to go run a 5K. I mean, it's too short. I mean, why push up on my shoes on and just run 3 miles?
Yeah.
Other people look at 3 miles, and that's a really long space. But if you look at, as you're ramping in, sometimes using minutes, right? Let's go do something for 10 minutes,
Hmm.
then take a break and go through. You can't tolerate it for 10 minutes. Let's do it for 2 minutes, 30 seconds, whatever, and then have a short break and then go back into it. So doing some interval-based ramping up is a safe way of doing that. Same ways if you're trying to build your fitness, right? If you can't go out and run for 30 minutes straight, but you can run for 5 minutes straight, you'll run for 5 minutes, take a minute, 2-minute break, recover, maybe that's a walk, repeat that until you get your duration closer to where you want it to be. If you're looking at it from a fitness perspective, a rehab perspective, a preventative perspective, don't try to eat the whole elephant at once, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Hmm. And so with that, can you give me a like, mm, maybe something that you like to do or you like to have your athletes do when they do start to get back in it? Because I know, like for me, like you said, a 5K seems like almost a waste of time, which it's not. But is there like something that you like to do when you have someone go out for, let's say, 10 minutes or 15 minutes, slowly getting back into it to make it seem better for them?
Yeah, the trick is getting everybody to understand where they're at in that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I've got a marathoner,
Yeah.
a veteran marathon runner who's gotten some foot pain and had to take 2 weeks down,
Mm-hmm.
well, we can push that a little further because their fitness is higher.
Yeah.
Their body is used to doing that. That same marathoner who had to sit out for 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
well, we can't do that same intensity. We've got to back that off by where they're at right now. If I've got somebody who isn't active, hasn't been active, they've had some aches and pains, they don't know how to run.
Yeah.
They don't know what the form's supposed to be like. They just go out and do it. And we've talked in previous podcasts about how silly I think that is. I mean,
Right.
we do drills for every other activity, but we expect ourselves to be able to run well
Mm-hmm.
without trying to perfect those things. And so, depending on where they're at in that, get them to see that. Get them to understand that, your cardiovascular fitness is going to last 3 minutes.
Right.
So let's go run for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Your muscular endurance is going to last for 4 minutes. So let's go run for 3, and then repeat those pieces.
Yeah.
There's some things that we'll look at, and some people are better at dealing with time-based intervals.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are better at dealing with distance-based intervals, give them something to think about and help them understand where they're at in that moment, how we're going to progress this, and then at the same time, what they should be feeling, right? So we try to guess what these intervals should be like or how we're going to ramp it up. And maybe I ask this person to go run 10 minutes, but at minute 7, they start to feel uncomfortable. At minute 7, they start to feel a discomfort. I need to be able to teach them that at minute 6 minutes and 59 seconds, they needed to back off before they felt that discomfort. So helping them read their body, helping them understand what's going on, helping them see where they're really at in that moment, letting them know what the path is going to look like. Hey, if we can run 10 minutes and no discomfort, and there's no pain or discomfort the next day, well, we're going to bump this up by whatever percentage. And a good rule of thumb is that 10% per week growth.
Okay, 10% per week. I like that. And so then my question is for the listeners, just so they can hear it, what's the risk if we do go too fast into it, or we or instead, let's say you give me a 10-minute run and I do 20. What's my risk involved in that?
So the longer you're on it and the longer you're not used to doing those sort of things, the more likely you are to be sore, right? Sometimes I've had athletes where I've told them 10 minutes and they've gone 20, and I'm holding my breath, waiting for the next day to see what's going to happen. And if nothing happened, then great. Okay, so it's a risk of it's a risk reward scenario. If we push too hard, if we get too much stress on the structures, whatever we're worried about or whatever we're fixing or whatever we're trying to prevent stuff on, if it doesn't surpass, if it doesn't overload the structure, nothing bad's going to happen. But you're not really going to know that until you build stuff up.
Right.
I tell people kind of tongue in joke that I'm competitive. Most people that I deal with are competitive. If we're playing cards, I don't want to win the game. I want to win every hand, right? So the only way I'm going to win every hand is if I stack the deck.
Yeah.
So if we're playing cards, make sure I got my sleeves rolled up. Not cheating there, because in cards, if you stack the deck, that's called cheating, right? In life, stacking your deck so we win every round, we win every situation, that's called being smart.
Yeah.
And so if we have a system in place, if we're relatively conservative about how we're doing, we reduce those risks, and then we win all those going through.
Okay.
And anytime I'm progressing somebody, I want them to look back. Let's say we have a 2-week block. I want them to look back on that 2 weeks and go, I could have gone harder. I could have gone faster. I could have increased the rate of intensity a little faster. That's a positive.
Yeah.
And they're feeling good there. Versus if we went too hard or we went too fast, that same 2 weeks, they're looking back like, I'm kind of sore. I probably shouldn't have. And they have this negative perception going back. Anytime we're dealing with rehab, it's not just a physical thing that we're dealing with. There's some emotional baggage that goes with it. There's some mental challenges that go with it. And so the more wins we can give people in this process, the better off they are.
Yeah, and does that do anything for you then? Does that allow you to know anything from those successes that they keep having? Like, I mean, the obvious would be that they're healing, but does it give you anything else? I'm just curious.
Well, it depends on whether I'm also coaching them or not, right? Yeah. So it depends on my level of touch with them. If I've got an athlete that I'm coaching and they've gotten something's happened, right? So they pulled a muscle, or they've gotten stiff, or they gotten sore. Something happened to them. Unfortunately, so far, I mean, we're coming up on, what is this, year 8 of PXP endurance. So far in those, we haven't had we haven't had any situations where the training has created an injury. We've had athletes get hurt.
Right.
We've got some pickleball examples. We've got some other things that happen there. But with the athletes that I'm coaching, as they're going through it, it gives me an insight into how their brains work, right? So through the coaching side, I kind of know their challenges, I know their expectations, how much they push themselves, and I can use that in the rehab side. If I've got somebody that I don't have that relationship with, it helps me understand where they're at as I build the fitness off that injury, right? So there's a bunch of different pieces.
I got you.
A bunch of different pieces. I want to give people, here's your injury, here's your fitness, here's how we should progress it, or here's a way to progress it. Here's a way of stacking your deck so that you're successful to progress it. There's the physical side, and the physical side is pretty straightforward. I mean, your body's going to heal at a certain rate, pretty much. You need a certain amount of recovery. There's some variations in that, but it's pretty standard.
Okay.
The other things, the variables, are how they perceive it.
Yeah.
Their confidence, how driven are they, how motivated, how well they'll pay attention to details. That's what it gives me insight into. And then if I've got someone who isn't able to pay a whole lot of attention to detail, I've got to then give them the detail. If I've got somebody who pays way too much attention to detail, I've got to get them to see the bigger picture.
I got you. Awesome. Okay. And then, so are there any injuries or issues that you see the most of, or any that you want to talk about, really?
Yeah, the ones I see the most of usually are back injuries.
Okay.
And I see most of those because if we look at the rehab world in general, that's some of the most challenging rehabs to do. And most people don't like to do back rehabs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different variables going on. It's not like you've got an elbow where the joint moves front to back. It moves in one, maybe two planes. The back, you've got multiple planes. You got a bunch of different muscles, big muscles, small muscles. You got all kinds of torques and forces going on that some people just don't want to dig down into that level of detail. I love it. I love it, and the main reason I love it, I don't like people having back pain. I like it because my brain gets to work.
Okay.
I get to dig in and do some critical thinking and help people understand what's going on and why it's going on, and it's just a fun process.
Gotcha. And I'm actually surprised by that answer. I didn't know that would be the answer. Why is that? Why are back injuries so high, I guess, in here?
Well, we don't get back injuries in here.
Right.
What happens is that most of your ankle sprains and your tendinitis, patella, that kind of stuff, most people, you can see there's a lot of opportunities out there. And they're going to get better pretty much no matter what you do with them, right? There's a few that linger around, but they're pretty easy to deal with.
Okay.
The back injuries, those usually become very chronic. Their pain's been with them for a long period of time, and what tends to happen is that they've been to several different providers. They've gotten some relief when they're there. As soon as they stop going, it flares back up, and they haven't really fixed the cause. And then word of mouth goes around, hey, I saw Paul, and my back doesn't hurt anymore. And so, friends of friends tell people about that, and that tends to be the rehabs that come in. The ones that are the tendinitises and the small things, those usually aren't word of mouth where you're really searching out from your friends and your buddies, hey, how'd you make your Achilles tendinitis better? We do get a fair share of plantar fasciitis. Those turn chronic. We do get some shoulder tendinitis that tends to go the same way. That just because those three areas tend to turn chronic, and people are looking for ways to fix the causes and not just treat the symptoms.
I got you. And then, so what are some ways that we can do, what are some things that we can do to prevent these injuries?
Yeah, and I'm going to sound like a broken record on this. Work on your mechanics, work on making sure the muscles are really working, the ones that you think are really working. Get that motor firing sequence activated. Make sure that you are getting the little muscles that are supposed to stabilize active. Make sure they are stabilizing, and then build in. And usually if I've got a new client coming and a new rehab coming in, that's where we start. And whether it's, I love I'm going to call them the simple rehabs. They're not always simple, but the ankles and the basic sprained knees, that type of thing. I love those. We start those at a similar place as well. But these complicated cases, when they come in, we got to go back and get them to actually, can they stabilize their lower abs? Can they get their glutes to fire before their hamstrings? Can they get all the things that we've talked about in the performance side? Just get those things to work in the rehab side so that they can then get to a performance.
Gotcha. And so are there any recovery practices or rehab practices that you might like more than others? And I don't mean like the ones that you just mentioned with activating muscles and whatnot. I'm talking about like ice baths, yoga, stretching. I guess yoga is a form of it. Yeah. But yeah, any practices that you like with that?
Yeah. And so, we started this out by talking about some of the perceptions of rehab and that side of the world. And then we turned it into the preventative side. We want to do that. Mm-hmm. This is just a continuation of that conversation. If you've had a really hard run, mm-hmm. you've been on your legs for a while, anything you can do to get the inflammation out of there to help mm-hmm. them recover. You've got recovery boots. You've got cold bath. You can go stand in the shower and freeze a little bit there. You can get your tub.
People that do that are crazy.
You can fill up your tub and kind of sit in it mm-hmm. and have cooler temperatures. This has taken me back, quite a number of years now. But in college athletics, my cross country and my track teams, as soon as they get done with practice, I'll use the word encourage them to come in and get into cold whirlpools. And we started out in camp in August there as they're coming back, and we'd put it at like 65 degrees. And so they'd go stand at 65 degree water in the whirlpool, and they'd be in there for about 8 to 10 minutes, and they'd get out and they'd just move around. After about a month, I'd start watching there, and I'd see my ice machine would be empty at the end of the day, end of the practice and stuff. I'd be like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And they would be trying to get the water colder and colder and colder because they'd acclimate to it. Mm-hmm. That 65 didn't feel cold anymore. Yeah. And so they'd get it down into 40s, and I'm like, hold on, guys. Yeah. Hold on. Don't make it too cold. But you want to have, some sort of post-workout recovery, whatever that is, right? Okay. Stretching could be in terms of yoga. It could just be some linear static stretching, having a cool down, and let your body adapt, getting some recovery boots, stretching, foam rolling, getting a massage. Yeah. Massage is everything from recovery to rehab. Any of those things are going to be helpful.
Absolutely. Are there any injury preventative workouts that you like that you might want to highlight? I don't know, like if you want to talk about getting on those dumb BOSU balls and doing stuff or what?
Yeah. So if a lot of this is going to maybe scare some people from attending some of our strength classes. Maybe it's going to encourage people. I'm not sure. But in all of our classes, the first 10 to 15 minutes is really working on the core. Mm-hmm. We've got a little dynamic warm-up, easing the body into it. We go work on the stability muscles, getting those go. So that should be a part of everybody's routine, no matter what you're doing, getting your core to actually function and stabilize. Mm-hmm. Then we go into some sort of balance activity. Okay, single leg stability is really important for pretty much every activity you do. If you're on a stable surface, you can progress that, eyes open, eyes closed. You can make your surface that you're standing on less stable. You can stand on a cushion, you can stand on a pillow. All kinds of different things to make it harder. You can use the BOSU balls, you can use the flat side of the BOSU ball. You can turn it over and stand, with the round side down. However you want to progress your balance and stability in those places. Mm-hmm. But those are, to answer your question directly, those two areas is pretty much what I would encourage everybody to incorporate into your daily workout, or at least multiple times a week workout. And then from there, making sure that at the end of your workouts that you're taking the time to take care of your body. Mm-hmm. Your body just did some amazing things. You got to take care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think one of the biggest things that I see is just from experience, I guess, with myself, is to, do all the prehab consistently, because, a lot of times, what I found with myself was, I would have something flare up with my calf, and then I would be like, okay, now it's time to start stretching and doing all these different things to make sure my calf doesn't blow up, right? And I'm like, Dre, you're being dumb. Like, you do this right when it's about to happen, or it does happen. Yep. You need to do this, every single day. Yeah.
And that's pretty typical. Mm-hmm. That's what most of us do.
Yeah.
This prehab, this stretching, it is boring. Mm-hmm. It's not as exciting. How many times have you bragged on somebody about their flexibility?
Not much.
Yeah. How many times have you been bragged on about your flexibility?
Never.
Good. No one's lied to you then. Okay. So those two things, we don't get that extra reward for it. Mm-hmm. But how many times have you been bragged on about your speed, about your power, about your performance? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so we spend all our time on the things that we get a reward from, either self-motivated reward or something from the outside. The things that we don't get rewarded are really the things that we should be doing to do the preventative stuff. Yeah. The flexibility, the yoga, the things behind the scenes that no one really cares about, and they're not that exciting.
Right.
But those are the things that, if you can be consistent in those preventative things, in that recovery area, it goes a long way.
For sure. Well, and so actually, here's a fun little story for you.
Yeah.
Last night in my youth class, they were trying to see who could do the splits.
Oh.
And so, yeah, and, apparently one of them could do side splits or something, and the rest of them tried or couldn't. And I was like, just so you guys know, I'm not the one telling you to do this. You guys are the ones that wanted to do this. And so I did not go down into splits. So that would have been a nightmare. But yeah, that was something fun that those kids brag on flexibility, I guess, which is good. So awesome. You want to talk about anything else with that then, with injury prevention?
Yeah. So, as we're getting to this is usually an area that people don't like to talk about, right? They don't talk about it because they know if they've gotten that, it's not very fun, and we try to avoid that stuff. Hey, listeners, if you've got stuff going on, those aches and pains, you've been running, and you've got something going on that's uncomfortable, and everybody else is saying, oh, you're a marathon runner, it's supposed to be uncomfortable. No, it's not. Now, there's some discomfort that, as you're going into a run and you're pushing and you got that lactate building up, your muscles are going to burn and you're going to get that type of discomfort. But you shouldn't be hurting from a run.
No, yeah.
And when you're pushing yourself into that, there's a lot of people out there who do that, who push, and then they take pride in how much pain they can endure. And then there's a period where you're not going to be running anymore.
Right.
Because you let all that stuff go on.
Exactly.
So, and again, I'm gonna push this. Listeners, if you're doing a performance of whatever distance it is, I'm using the marathon distance just because that tends to be very stereotypical of being able to, quote, push through pain. It doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
Now, we've got a bunch of examples, a bunch of members who used to be like that, and then they broke.
Yep.
They ended up in here. We start chit-chatting about things. They didn't run for a longer than what they wanted to, not run. We fixed some things, and now they're back to running, and they're pain-free, and like, I didn't know I could run pain-free. Everybody told me I had to run pain-free. If I want to be a marathon runner, I've got this pain I got to deal with.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Right.
We can fix this stuff. So if you've got that kind of stuff going on, let's talk.
For sure. Absolutely.
I'd love to help you be able to do your sport of choice, whatever that is, and enjoy it again, and not just endure the endurance sport.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it always blows my mind when I hear that. I'm like, how do you enjoy it when you're in pain? Like, you just can't. I was like, I don't understand it. But yes, come see Paul for that. Okay, well, I do have a question for you from one of our listeners.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to summarize this real quick. So this is someone that comes to class. What place does the testing that we do serve for the athletes that are in a heavy build training outside of the classes? So and they're asking kind of more of, should we sacrifice workouts in here when we have maybe a long run on a day? She said in particular, do we sacrifice the workout to give 100% for the testing in class, or what?
No. Okay. So let's put this in context. We've got adults who are training for different events, right? And so let's look at them. Maybe they're within several weeks of an event. We've got youth who are in junior high and high school sporting events. Okay, and in those sporting events, they've got track meets, cross country meets, they've got lacrosse games, they got these sort of things. If they've got a meet or a big workout on that day, no, you should not sacrifice it. You should sacrifice what's happening in here. And here's what I mean. So every time somebody comes in the door, comes into a class, I ask them, how are they doing? How do you feel? How's your body doing? Sometimes that person goes, fine, good, and they just kind of walk on. It's kind of like when when you see somebody, hey, how you doing? Fine. You don't really care how they were, right? You're just, it's making conversation and being cordial. When they walk in the door, I care about how they're doing. Hey, what's your workout today? Because I want to help you modify that piece. So if we've got testing in here on a certain day and somebody has a performance event out there, we're going to modify the testing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if that performance outside there is really not the priority, well, then we can modify off that. We know we're going to be, maybe it's a time trial that that really doesn't matter. Right? Yeah. Well, then we can mix and match those sort of things.
Gotcha.
But it comes down to making a choice in terms of, and again, stepping back and looking at the big picture. Where does it all fit in? And the things that we do in here are designed to make you stronger, more resilient, help your performance, and reduce your risk of injury.
Yeah.
And if we don't look at the big picture, that doesn't happen.
Right. For sure. Okay, well, good. I think you answered the question. That's the only question I have then. I only have one fun question for you today that I'm going to ask you. Would you rather lose your memories or lose the ability to create new ones? That's tough.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tough. I heard it on the way here, and I was like, ooh, I'm going to ask Paul.
So the question is, would I rather lose my memories that I have now,
right,
or lose the ability to make new memories?
Correct. Yep. And here's the thing I want you to think about. You can still do the new things, right? You just won't be able to remember the new things, but you'll know it in the moment. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. So I'd rather be able to make new memories.
Make new ones, lose old ones? Okay.
Yeah.
I just giving
you because with that, like, I might think that I couldn't run a certain speed, and if I forgot that I was so slow, maybe.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
Maybe I could
that's one way to think about
faster.
It. For sure. I guess so. All right. Well, cool. I like that one. All right. Shout out segment. I have a person to shout out today. We have Chris left a comment on YouTube. So shout out to Chris for leaving a comment on YouTube. And I say that because I didn't know you could leave a comment on YouTube. Because I was looking at it and tried to see. I was like, where do people leave comments on here? And I was like, I don't think you can. So I looked at the rules and whatnot. And I was like, well, if we make it for kids, I don't think we can. I was like, well, it's always going to be for kids. So, but somehow you figured it out. So shout out to Chris.
I've got a quick one. We talked earlier today about a couple of my rehab individuals having some milestones today. And so I want to shout out to Caprice, who's been dealing with some chronic foot and back pieces and has been told that she's never going to run again and couldn't do all kinds of things. And she's been told that enough times that she started to believe it. And we've been doing rehab now about 3 or 4 weeks, and I've got her jogging, and
nice.
And she's not going very long. We're going 20 and 30 seconds, right? So she's it doesn't. She still doesn't think it's very long, and she's still wanting to do longer. But her ability when she started, we couldn't do that at all. And now she's sprinting in place, and she's jogging in place, and working on the form, and she doesn't have any pain. And it's been, we're way early, and it's just exciting to watch this progress happen. Of the smile that she had on her face today, the enthusiasm that she had, and the outlook of what she's going to do in this rehab is just so much brighter. And it's fun to see that expression just light up.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Next thing you know, she's going to be riding horses with Alex. But yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, that's it for the shout out segment then. And that's it for the podcast. That's all I have today. So pretty much it. But thanks everyone for tuning in on another episode. We hope to see you guys next week.
Thanks everybody.
Hey everyone, it's Dre here. I just wanted to say thank you all for being patient with us and listening to the podcast. We greatly appreciate all your feedback and welcome it as always. Don't forget to send me your questions so I can get those to Paul. We haven't had any in a while, so I just wanted to remind everyone. Lastly, we just ask you that you leave a review, like, and share the podcast with your family and friends. Thank you all so much. We'll catch you on the next episode.